Hey, what's going on everyone? Ryan again with rpkcustoms.com. I just finished up this commission for George, so I thought I would make a quick video going over it. This is the Anakin Starkiller, I believe the Book of Boba Fett, Luke Skywalker hero. This is the one that comes with the second top. Kind of got the wonky, really thick rings in the grenade section. This is the vented pommel. I just stuck it on the bottom of this grenade section for the time being, just to ship it out. I put your bag of screws for your retention screws for your blade inside here. So when you get this, you can unscrew this and take your bag out. I just put them in there for shipping, just to keep everything together. So keep that in mind, that your little bag of screws and your Allen key is in this grenade section. But let's talk about the hilt itself. Just because I have it, I thought I would compare it slightly. Even though these are two different style of heroes, I thought I would compare it to my mom. They're pretty similar. Now, like I said, these are different. This is from the, what I believe, Book of Boba Fett, either Book of Boba Fett or Mandalorian. I'm not really too well versed on my Disney Star Wars props, but I believe this is from the Book of Boba Fett. And this is from Return of the Jedi. So there are slight differences between the two, mainly in the control box. The control box on the Book of Boba Fett is a lot taller than on the Return of the Jedi mom. And there are some differences in the grenade section. You can see not only are the rings evenly spaced on the Book of Boba Fett, but this section right here above your clamp box section, or your control box section, is a lot taller than on the Return of the Jedi. But other than that, they are pretty similar as far as dimensions go. You know, they feel pretty similar. Now, I've built a lot of kits from Anakin Starkiller. I've done a lot of his V2s. I've done a few of his V3s. Most of which you can go back on my channel and you can watch the videos on those. The first Starkiller that I ever built was one of his old, I think it was his first generation unibodies. So I've been building Starkiller kits for a long time, and I say that to say this. I had some problems with this kit specifically. There were a few things that I just found kind of wonky. Now that I got everything together, it's fine. But there were some quality control issues that I wanted to go over in this video. I did talk to George about this over email a little bit, but I didn't really get too much into specifics of what was giving me problems. But the first thing I noticed right off the bat when I was going to do the final assembly was the button setup here. There's a set screw on the inside of the control box here that screws into the black switches on the outside of the control box. And the way that it screws in, it's just a set screw. It doesn't have a cap on the screw itself. So the screw doesn't actually tighten these buttons down at all. And there's no holes drilled through the clamp box for any kind of button setup. So I'm assuming that these are just for looks. These are not supposed to be functional buttons in any way. If you were to try to make these functional buttons, you would have to drill some holes in here and then make some kind of a rocker switch setup. That's something that you would have to do yourself. So I ended up having to just glue this on anyway. I glued it and then I screwed the set screw in. Just in case the glue fails, the set screw's there to kind of hold it on so you won't lose the buttons. But without the glue, the buttons kind of rock back and forth like this. And gluing is just fine. I've glued switches like this on other heroes. The Dave Parkin that I had, I just E6000 glued that on. It's not a problem. Sorry, I keep having to wipe my face. It is definitely summertime in Florida and it is scorching hot down here. But another problem that came up was the clamp card itself was too thick for the rails in the control box. So I had to take this, the clamp card itself, and I had to sand it down. I had to sand for about an hour before it would actually fit in the control box itself. So if you are going to install this, I'm not really sure how you would go about doing any kind of a button setup, especially a 2-button setup. The only way I can see is that you would have to pull the control box card. You would have to pull that down to activate a switch and then push it back up. Kind of clunky. It's not really the best setup. On the mom, it is switches on the outside. These black buttons act as your activation and auxiliary switch, whereas, like I said, these are just static. So, you know, if you have one of these and you've installed one, I would be curious to see what setup you used for the buttons. But another problem that I faced with this was the tri-ring. The tri-ring provided with this kit was too big for the hole that was drilled in the pommel cube. And I'm not sure if all kits are like this or if it was just this one. And when I say the tri-ring was too big, it was not just a little bit too big, it was too big, too thick. The diameter of the tri-ring was too thick for the hole. It would not fit in the hole at all. You know, thankfully I do have a drill press and I do have numbered drill bits. So the drill bits are not fraction or millimeter, they are actually numbered 1 through 60, and it's got fractions, it's got metric, and it's got everything in between. So I was able to get the exact drill bit that I needed for this D-ring to work. And that's kind of a quality control issue. I'm not sure, like I said, I'm not sure if all the kits were like this or if it was just this one. But I do want to point that out in case you are looking at purchasing one of these. Be aware of that. You know, again, if any of you guys have built one of these kits and have experienced this problem, let me know. If you haven't experienced this problem, let me know. I'd be curious to see if this was just a lemon or if this is an ongoing problem with all these kits. But after I got those problems rectified and I got the whole thing put together, it's a pretty nice kit. I like the way it feels. It's nice and sleek when you're holding it in your hand, just like the Mom. It feels a lot like the Mom. There's really not too much difference in the way that it feels in your hand. The quality control issues were just a little bit annoying. It's not a deal breaker. They are fixable, obviously, because I was able to fix them and put this together. As someone who has manufactured sabers, I just, you know, the D-ring and, you know, the clamp car being too thick, these are problems that should have been avoided. They're not major problems at all. They're just highly annoying. And like I said, I have built other Starkiller sabers in the past and I've not had these issues at all. So I'm wondering if it was just this kit that I had or if it was every one of these. So I hope it doesn't sound like I'm shitting on Starkiller too much. I am a fan of his. I do like his kits. Like I said, I've built plenty of them. This kit just gave me a lot of issues, and I wanted to point that out for anybody who is interested in getting one of these. Just be aware that you might run into some problems. But as far as the paint that I used on this, I used a satin black. I think the satin black matched the screenshots pretty well, so that's what I went with. The gold I used was Ace Hardware Antique Gold. That seems to be the go-to for all of these hero sabers. Eventually I'm going to be repainting my Mom with the exact same paint that I used on this saber, because on the Mom I am not a fan of the anodizing, the super shiny anodizing. I preferred the look of the satin paint. And I'm also going to be painting the neck. This is actual brass, and I'm just going to be painting over the brass because this is installed and I can't disassemble this neck section without having to disassemble the entire pixel connector in here. So I'm just going to be painting over the brass with the antique gold. I just have not had time to do it yet. I've been busy with commissions. I haven't had time to do anything for myself lately. So that's it for the Anakin Starkiller Book of Boba Fett Hero. Like I said, you know, I hope I don't sound like I'm being too negative on this kit. You know, there was just some problems that I feel like could have been easily avoided. So this is actually going to be my last commission until I get back up home to Michigan. Like I said, it is getting way too hot down here in Florida. It is definitely summertime and I'm feeling it, so it's about time for me to leave. So my commissions are going to be shut down for just a short period of time until I can make the trip back up to Michigan. I usually take about a week from the time I leave until the time I get home. So I'm going to be leaving in about a week. I ended up getting sick for a couple of days, which set me back a few days, but I am still leaving pretty soon. But until my next video, I hope you guys had a great May 4th and Revenge of the 5th. I will see you guys in a couple of weeks. May the Force be with you.